Hello, everybody, and welcome to Andy Makes a Friend world building. We're going to do some world building. If you're in chat, let me know, because I will have a question for you in a moment. But, hope everyone's having a good start to the week. First Monday stream of 2020. And hello, Liz. And, yeah, lots of stuff I want to do on Mondays in 2020. Stuff like this. We're going to continue Phantom Horizons, Twilight Trails, the regular Monday shows, peppering in faction turns, and then maybe some solo RPG stuff. So Mondays will either be just me or one of our non-D&D shows. Let's see what else is there. I said this on Twitter, and I said this at the end of the last Star Chasers, but Task Force Unlikely is, for now, moving to Sunday mornings, so it'll be every other Sunday, but will still air here, at its normal slot on Wednesdays. I'll rerun it. But if you want to join in live in chat, Sundays, you can still chat on reruns and all that stuff. And then this week, because we're not starting recording that this week, Sassy and Classy will have an episode. So, I usually do that at the end. I wanted to get it up front. I'll probably do it again at the end. So, to folks in chat, I have a question for you. What would you like to see me world build? I've got a couple options. Up on the screen right now, I have the campaign Bible for one of my homebrews, Bide. So the Star Chasers visited that. That's when they met the Queen and Princess Hester's. That's on the world of Bide. So I can do one of three world building things tonight. I can either build a town or two in Bide, outside of Fate's Cove. I can start to build the campaign Bible for the Shattered Kingdoms, which are another planet in the same sphere as Bide. Or I can start the campaign Bible for a totally unrelated world that's sort of vaguely steampunky, Wild West frontier D&D. I have rough notes for the latter two things, and I would turn them into a document that looks like this, or start to at least. I can go over this a little bit in a minute. So if you're in chat, let me know what you want. If nobody says anything, I will do something myself. And while people are thinking about it. So yeah, this is the world of Bide. I created this campaign Bible for it. It's roughly based on... The campaign Bible format is based on Chris Perkins' campaign Bible for Valorane, which was his D&D Next playtest campaign. Although, when I tried to Google it to see if anything else ever happened with that, I found a tweet that said it never went anywhere. Like, I don't even think he played a game in it. Okay, we're going to talk about the Shattered Kingdoms. So that's what this format is based on. It's gone through a couple different versions, and the setting itself has gone through a couple different versions. I've had a couple people look at this and kind of tell me, how to order the information that makes the most sense for them. So, when we visited with the Star Chasers, we went to the continent of Tarika and the country of Kelia. We went to Fate's Cove. But there's some more information here. My home campaign may be doing a campaign in this setting. And if they do, they will start in either the town of Hillhaven, which I might change to Haven Hill, or Dundragon. Yeah. So, Liz says she wants to know more about the Shattered Kingdoms. So let's talk about the Shattered Kingdoms. So the Shattered Kingdoms take place in the same sphere as Bide. So they share a pantheon with some slight differences. So the Bide pantheon, let me scroll down, gods of Bide. The greater human gods are the Raven Queen. She's just easy and good. A good goddess of birth, death, the moon, cycles, fate. I have a couple different things with her in here. Orcs are big into the Raven Queen in this setting. Don Iver, the Deep One, is fairly generic god of evil. Rael, the Worldbringer, is a god of the sun, life, harvest. Aul, mistress of the sea, and her wife Aer, mistress of the sky. Pretty self-explanatory, sea and sky goddesses. And then Kazon, the Steel Fist, is lawful evil. So it's... Of the greater gods, there's only one good god because everyone worships Rael. Like, you just can't get around it. He's too important to daily life. Humans, at least. Humans, halfling. When I say humans, I mean pretty much everyone but elves and dwarves. Sorry, I just saw or Dragon Dun instead of Dun Dragon. Dragon Dun. Yeah. And then Rael, Nera, and Dun Iver are the triumvirate of good, neutral, and evil. Some believe they are aspects of each other or a greater god, but most commonly, how do I spell commonly? I'm not a good speller. They are ascribed to be siblings. Whether or not that is true is also up to debate. Depends on what version of the Raven Queen's origin you believe. If you believe the 4E version, if you believe the 5E version where she's an elf, like maybe they're both true. It's one of those things. I leave it up to the gods are unknowable, inscrutable even. Lesser human gods, Aum the Horizon, who is sort of luck, life, trickery, travelers. In this setting, Goliath are big into her. They believe they are her chosen, and they're very much into hunting. They believe she wept over the mountains and birthed them to protect the mountains from monsters. Calderon, god of loss and regret. This is straight up taken from like the Forgotten Realms, but there's I can't remember her name, but there's a goddess of loss and regret in the Forgotten Realms, and she just essentially tricks you into worshiping her. Like, everyone feels loss and regret, and her goal is to just keep making you feel it. So it's a terrible cycle. So I don't know why, but that as a trickery god really appealed to me that's just heartbreaking. Kia, goddess of trade. Okat's god of magic. Himata, or Himata? I've never said some of these out loud before. You can see these, I put pronunciations, because these came first. So some of these, I may not like them after I say them. So Himata, goddess of luck. Dost, goddess of justice. Lady Justice. The goddess of toxic relationships. Yes, that is Calderon. Exactly, Liz. And then Lyjet is they're a Tabaxi civilization who believe that they're the only civilization on Bide. It's provably untrue. But they worship a bunch of animal-headed gods, and they believe they are formed in the image of their goddess, Kore, who has a cat head. And in this setting, in Bide, dwarves are monotheistic. They just worship Vormir. That will be different when we talk about the Shattered Kingdoms in a second. A couple of these things will be different. That's why I wanted to go over what they were in Bide versus the Shattered Kingdoms. I don't think any of this really came up when the Star Chasers visited Fate Space. If anything, I maybe name dropped Rail, because they're kind of a big deal. But they're kind of a big deal. But yeah, Vormer the Molder that's that. The gods, dwarves were formed by Vormer. That's it. That's all we need. We don't need anything else. Some more liberal dwarves, and I mean that in the religious sense, like conservative or orthodox, reformist or unorthodox, liberal, worship other gods, specifically Kaya. I'm going to say Kaya. Okots, and then some of the Fey Lords and Ladies. So, for the Fey Lords and Ladies, I had a lot of fun coming up with these names. Omser, Lord of the Forever and the Infinite. Owyr, Lord of Winter, Lord of Frost and Dark Skies. Powith, the Lord of Summer, Lord of Long Days and Warm Sun. Dailof, the Lady of Autumn, Lady of Falling Leaves and Sweeping Winds. Gwanwyn, the Lady of Spring, Lady of Blooms and Rolling Meadows. Onifal, Lady of the Hunt and Wild Beasts. Kifrin, Lord of Deep Woods and Dire Secrets. Kifrin? I've always said Kifrin. I don't know why I wrote Kifrin there. Because I actually used Kifrin in one of my home games. I had a Warlock of Kifrin. They were a bad guy. Minded, Lady of Rising Peaks and Endless Canyons. And Aphon, Lady of Flowing Rivers and Crystal Lakes. So in this setting, the humans and the halflings are at war with the elves and the dwarves. The war of the long-lived. So named because it has been going on for a long time. And the elves and dwarves are sort of winning by default because they just live longer. So unlike, sort of Tolkien or even Forgotten Realms, the elves and dwarves aren't in decline. They're doing just fine. They have children less frequently, but that's more of a matter of generational, like just because, when they have a kid once a generation, it's just a time thing. But they're not in decline. They're not like, they still have like, an elf might have 7 or 10 kids over a long period of time because they just live a long time. So the Bright Summer Pact are the humans and the halflings, and because of this, the Lord of Summer is his power has waned over the years because the elves fear that worshiping him would in some way symbolically boost the Bright Summer Court. So, the Lord of Winter rises to take his place. As such, winters have been harsh, more especially in the north as of late, and the elves continue to grow cold and distant because they are worshipping more often than not the Lord of Winter. So it is bringing out their more the bad elf tendencies. Okay. So let's create Shattered Kingdoms Campaign Bible. So, all that to say, what is different here in terms of gods? So, did I ever end up changing? Okay, good. I changed. Oh, at some point this for whatever reason was written in a different font. I think because it used to be a Word document on a computer, and it bothered me because the two are connected. So I would keep transferring between the two of them, and I'd have to always change the font. It took me way too long to change it. Anyway, great story, Andy. Okay, so the Pantheon is the same as on Bide with a few changes. So, Raven Queen, Dawn Ivor still there. Raoul on Jalun, which is the name of the Shattered Kingdoms planet, versus Bide. And then it's got 2 moons, Sisara and Olik. On Jalun, Raol is not ascribed a gender. Doing so would be blasphemous to these people. Or it has been lost to time because the world has become shattered, which I'll talk about in a second. And that brings up one of the other powerful gods. So a lot has been lost to these civilizations. So certain islands... Okay. Let me start over. Okay. Civilization ended 1,000 years ago. Or it was supposed to. Something has flooded the world. That's not your problem. The world survived. Sort of. There are nearly 100 islands scattered around the world. Specks of calm in a riotous sea. You live on one of them. These are the Shattered Kingdoms. So, on the Shattered Kingdoms, the planet has hundreds of islands. This says tiny. They're not that tiny. Some of them are tiny. Some of them are bigger. And for the most part, they are separated into island chains of between 1 and 5 islands. And then around those are terrible storms you can't get through called forever storms. So these groups have been isolated for 1,000 years. So their religions have changed significantly in some cases. In some ways, in some places they only worship one god anymore. Certain religious rites and aspects have been lost to time. If they were even the same as they were on Bide to begin with, they just worshipped similar gods. You call it, especially the way Spelljammer works, which is sort of how I roughly base this, is in spheres. Typically, they worship one pantheon because you call on those gods and their power holds in that pantheon. If you worship the Greek gods in one pantheon, if you go to the Forgotten Realms and you try and summon the power of Zeus, Zeus holds no worshippers there, so his power doesn't work. But as long as, close enough to worshipping the same gods, I think that makes sense. So that's why certain aspects have changed a little bit, because on Jalun, their belief and their myths have changed so that god is believed in and thus empowered, because gods function on belief. So for the most part, the main pantheon is the same. However, there is an additional god, Thrakar the Stormbellows, Lord of the Storm, son of Eul and Aur. He is the Lord of the Forever Storm, and thus he is a feared and reviled god because it prevents them from leaving their small island chains. His main form of worship is fear-driven, and preventative measures are taken to endure the storms. For the most part, the storms stay it's like a giant storm wall that stays in roughly the same position. So it's like a border. But, weather patterns, what they are, they can unleash rains and thunder and lightning onto islands, especially ones close to the storm wall. So Thrakar is a person to be feared. I don't remember where the name Thrakar Stormbellows comes from, but it is some name that has been bouncing around in my head for like 10 years. He's the bad guy in my fake pulp dwarf novel series that I have a character who loves, called Smash Lampjaw, which is a Mystery Science Theater reference. I don't think Thrakar Stormbellows is from Mystery Science Theater. Maybe from Penny Arcade. I can't remember. But Thrakar Stormbellows. It's just a silly fun name. These gods are all the same for the most part. Again, worshipped in varying levels, and I might change them a little bit more. So, the bigger change comes to the dwarves. On Jalen, they believe that when the world shattered, it used to not be a bunch of islands. It used to be real continents. It symbolically and physically shattered their god, who was the god of the earth. So Vormir the Molder becomes Vormir the Shattered. He's still lawful good, still the creator of the dwarves, but now he is much more a feel good trial against all odds, victory against all odds kind of thing. He's been brought low, but always strives for greatness and to be there for the dwarves. So he's a resilient figure. Bide and Jalen share gods. They are in the same sphere, but on Jalen the myth goes that Vormir was shattered. I just said that. He is broken but resilient figure, and his shattered pieces have formed the rest of the dwarven pantheon. So, the Rakar storm bellows. Okay. So, the pieces of Vormir have formed Thraza, the Warden, who is considered the mother of dwarves, even though that doesn't really make sense, but don't worry about it. Mythology doesn't make sense. It never has. Zeus is weird. He keeps fucking swans or whatever his deal is. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. She is the mother of dwarves and goddess of safety, because safety first, and safety is important. No one's ever heard of the Low Ceiling Clan. Just saying. Dunar the Miner, goddess of mining. Vazin the Smith, god of forging. Oh, goddess. Sorry, goddess. Oh, I do have one. Nylik the Darkness, literally is darkness. That's a Pratchett idea. And Rorin the Gem Lord, god of wealth, greed, and gems. And I have here, because Dwarven society is rigid, upholding the law is paramount. Therefore, there is no real concept of lawful evil. If you are upholding the law, you are doing good. Therefore, chaos is aberrant and just evil, no matter what. So they don't have a concept of lawful good or lawful evil, just as they don't have really a concept of chaotic good. That, of course, doesn't mean that player characters could not espouse those beliefs. And from the outside world, someone acting in a lawful evil manner in Dwarven society, that everyone else is just like, that's lawful evil. Dwarves might be like, well, it's lawful neutral. I mean, he's not doing great, but he's following the law. Kind of thing. Fey lords and ladies are the same. And then I have a big old list of island names. So I will have to do that. Oh, and some NPCs. So we'll do that in a second. Because I'll probably start on the town they're in. So the Bide campaign Bible is really quite like I'd say it's fairly robust. I created another campaign Bible for a campaign I've created called Suburbia. It is much less robust because I'm just like, whatever you people want. It's a modern setting. It's weird. It's purposefully weird. It's kind of Neverwhere-esque. Maybe I'll share that some other time. I'm pretty proud of it. It's not really done or publishable in any way because it's not really, there's not a lot there. But I think it's cool. Okay. So. Oh, this has a Brenna, Lord of Forest and Trees. He didn't make the cut. So originally, here's a little backstory. Originally, Bide and Jalen, the Shattered Kingdoms, were one place, and they took place 1,000 years apart. So you could play in the past of Bide, or in the future of the Shattered Kingdoms, it was Bide. Still then, it was Fate's Cove. But sorry, my wife just came home and it distracted me. But I decided that kind of took away player agency. Like, you couldn't save the realms if a foregone conclusion was that they'll shatter. So I decided to make them 2 different planets. So you could do either, and yes, technically someone failed, but it's 1,000 years ago and you couldn't have done anything about it. So the thing that caused the Shattered Kingdoms to fall, above both Bide and Jalun, there is a floating city of the gods. It was a golden disc. From below, it just looked like a disc. And the people of both planets assumed that's where the gods lived. In Bide, it disappeared 500 years ago and hasn't come back. On Jalun, it crashed into the planet 1,000 years ago, which broke apart the continents and subsequently rioted up the storm, the waves and the oceans, and it created the Forever Storms. There is also a Forever Storm on Bide. No one knows what that deal is. So that means Thrakar Stormbellows, indeed, has power on Bide. It's just no one really worships him, so he doesn't have as much power, but someone figured out how to create a Forever Storm. Okay, let's see. So you can see some of my very vague notes here. Here we go. Copy. See, what? Okay. Can I just... There we go. Sorry. I switched computer things, and I don't know what that was. I'll figure that out later. Really? Did it just... What? To copy? I don't want to edit menu. What? Okay, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So, part of the inspirations for this are... I like to write down my inspirations, because, you know, everyone has them. I've never done a thing in D&D or otherwise where I haven't... You know, I'm not trying to steal ideas, obviously, but ideas inspire you no matter where they come from. So, for, like, Suburbia, the one I was just talking about, Neverwhere was a touchstone. The Shin Megami Tensei series, Studio Ghibli, there was another one, Brazil, that kind of stuff were touchstones for me. And it's, you know, it wears... In many ways, it wears its inspirations on its sleeve, but I also don't think it's a straight rip-off of any of them. I think it is melding elements together. This one I was inspired by, and there's less that I'm just straight taking. But I was inspired by Golden Sun, which is a great Game Boy Advance and Nintendo regular DS, I think, RPG series. The DS game was fine. The Game Boy Advance games were way better. Kingdom Hearts Destiny Island, just that, was very inspirational to me. And then Mega Man Legends, which is where the idea of Forever Storms come from, because in that, around the central continent, there is a storm that no one can get through until you build a dropship that you get through. Mega Man Legends games are awesome. And it's great. Hold on a second. I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So, how do I have this set up? So let me look at this real fast. So I have a little description of the world here, and this little art I made. So, copy. A little bit I read at the beginning. Delete tiny. Underhill because we're not doing it. Sorry, Liz. Let's see. Okay. So as I said, the planet is named Jalun. The moons are Cesara and Olik. I don't know what those look like necessarily. The one's ringed. That's always cool. Tiny, like Mars's moons. Okay. I'll have to figure out. Oh, you know what? I did have an image for this. That's all I found. I'll have to get it later. It was fairly generic, much like that, but I like it. It helps me think about what the world is. Okay, so then I had descriptions of the continents. See, now that's... So let me do descriptions of the places where I would start players. Because, as I said... Oops. Oh, no, that was right. I created names. I don't have much about them. But I created names for 84 islands. And technically, that one is 3 islands put together. God, I'm dumb. Okay. Grey Sun and Grey Sun, rival islands. Okay. I might have to change some of these names. First of all, like, clearly, Dameron City, Poe Island. Wonder what I was thinking. Oh, Good Barrel. That's always my halfling last name. Where was that? Oh, and Gray. I clearly like the word Gray. Oh, and Dundragon. See, some of these you can see where, because they were originally the same setting, I have overlapping names. I had to change. Originally, Wayward Vale was Fate's Cove. So Dundragon. I feel like I got rid of Dragon. I think I got rid of most of the ones that were obviously the same words, Andy. I'd have to change that because Wayward Vale. Okay, so let's see. What do we have? We have okay, so okay. So let's see. Trying not to capture my loud ass typing. Let's see. Okay, so we have the Gale Pact Islands. Okay, so that's a heading 1. Okay. Oh, come on. Oh, right. That doesn't work. Okay. That's not the computer's fault. Oh. Yeah, maybe one of the moons is a spaceship. Maybe it's a Spelljammer port. And they're just like, oh, these poor idiots down on this planet barely have boats. This space station, when it's fully operational, maybe that's what caused the island's tall shatter. You don't know. Well, you do. I told you what it was. But who knows what shot it out of the sky? Maybe this moon space station called a danger egg. Yeah. Okay. So Wayward Vale. Portsmouth, Sylvan Harbor, Stargle, Amble Crown, Evenwood. I think that's some deep canon right there, Liz. That's the real reason. Okay. So, Wayward Vale. How big are islands? Okay, hold on. What's the... let's see. Crap. Hold on. Help, please. No, wrong one. Wrong one. Give me a second. How big are the Hawaiian Islands? Okay, what was that total? That's not helpful. How big? Okay. Size of each Hawaiian island. There we go. Size, here we go. Let's see. Question big. There are over 140 islands that make up the state of Hawaii? Really? Okay. Tourists only visit the 6 largest. That makes sense. Okay, so Hawaii is 4,028 square miles. So how big is, let's say, Indonesia? Oh, size of Ireland. That's another good one. Okay. 32,595. Boy. Okay, New Guinea's huge. And these are all big. Okay. Okay, I don't think I want anything. Okay, how big? Let me look at a picture of Sumatra, because I think that's about as big as I'm gonna want. What am I looking at? Okay, that's pretty big, and I think that's fair. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. So, none of these are going to be particularly big, but once you leave this area, because, spoilers, the Forever Storm will fall, and no one knows why, so you have to reestablish contact. And, Yeah. Liz in chat is saying, I think you can make them as big as you want. National Geographic includes Australia as an island, so nothing makes sense. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, all continents are islands. I think Australia would be too big for anything I wanted. So I was trying to think, what's a fairly big island that's not Australia-sized? And I think Sumatra, because I do want it to feel very shattered. I don't really want a giant landmass that, would take days and days and days to travel across. A couple days to travel. Like Ireland, you can essentially drive the whole thing in 24 hours. It's not really that big. And Hawaii, when we went to Hawaii, you can get pretty much, we were on the big island. And you can get really anywhere in a couple hours. Like, even the remote, like, you drive up and down the island. The traffic's terrible, but it doesn't really take you that long. So I kind of want that feel. I want it to feel a little cramped, especially in the beginning. So I think Wayward Vale will be... Okay, so Wayward Vale... Yeah, much like, as I said, one of the inspirations was Destiny Island from Kingdom Hearts, hence the name Fate's Cove. Destiny, I wanted it to feel... Although, in Destiny Island, you find on the second game that there's like a city on that island somewhere or whatever. But I wanted it to feel like, yes, obviously I want to leave. This place is kind of like cramped and I know everybody and it's lame. So, like, that's not necessarily... 5,000 square miles is still big, but the idea, sort of, you know, that Moana idea of, like, I want to know what's beyond the ocean. Not just thinking that because of Hawaii. I feel like it connects. Anyway. Okay. The biggest of the Gale-Packed Island is roughly 5,000 square miles. Wayward Vale is the name of... both the island and the city found there. The untamed wilderness of the island consists of dense conifer woods. How do you spell that? Isn't that what I typed? Oh, whoops. Dense conifer woods and rocky cliffs. A river bisects the island. Just picking this up. Okay. Then I have some NPCs. See what else I have here. Yeah, it's something. It's something I haven't updated in who knows how long. Okay. So I'd make this a little more cohesive once I turn it into this. I just want to get the ideas down, and then I'll format it like this. So here I have the people, a little blurb about the continent, some information about cities or landmarks, the races that live there, country, cities, races, country, city, so forth and so on. Okay. So from there, let me read these in case I've decided to change any of these. Let's see. Mayor Sylvie Brightbanner. God, I like... Okay, okay, that was... Okay, that was... Brightbanner was... to tie into Bright Summer. Like, the idea that it had kind of lost its meaning, but the Brightbanner was always the mayor. That was a tie-in from when it was connected to Bide still. I also like the word bright a lot. So let me think. Sylvie Banhammer. No. Chibi Banhammer. Chibi Banhammer. I'm looking around. Who's accredited here? Wolfgang Bauer and Zeb Cook. Sylvie Bauer? Sylvie Mercer Ray. In honor of the news of the day that Critical Role's book's going to come out in March. Although now I have several 3 named people. Okay, so Sylvie Mercer Ray. Human, middle-aged, graying hair, has a husband but no children, fiercely loyal to the town and the island. Most agree she is a good mayor and has run uncontested in her last 2 elections. Possible source of work. Captain of the Guard is Finn Lee Ronan. Human, medium-length hair. Oh, okay, well. Okay. Human, medium-length hair and 5 o'clock shadow. Stoic and gruff. Finn is a fairly typical Captain of the Guard. He's a former ruin diver, which was... So in the original version, I'll probably keep it, places that never kept civilization from the fall are ruins. They're adventuring sources, adventuring locations. So they're ruins, and people who go into them are ruin divers. It's kind of Mega Man Legends, Final Fantasy X-ish. That's what the Riku's people do, right? Sweet Barrow. I like Sweet Barrow. I'm writing down Sweet Barrow. Is that better than Sweet Barrow? She's got a million names. I'll pick one of those. I will reuse them later. I could also just use Ray Mercer or something. You know what? Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Sylvie Sweet Barrow. And then down here, we'll think of what Ray Mercer does. Captain of the Guard, Finley Ronan. Where was I? Stoic and gruff, Finn is a fairly typical Captain of the Guard. He is a former ruin diver. He is missing one hand, but it's never slowed him down before. Possible source of work. The Harbor Master is named Beck Lee Ronan. That's probably before I played Beckett, so I like the name Beck. Husband of Finn, bald and bearded. Beck is an amiable guy who maintains good relations between the sea merchants and fishermen. You know, though the seas are dangerous, people still go out to them, and you still have to travel between the other islands. So the ocean provides life and food and work still. So they have a complicated relationship with the ocean and the goddess, who is it Aeol or Aer? I never remember. It's Aeol. I'll have to think of a way to remember that. I got I picked up from Amazon a GM screen that you can see it. It's blocking the messy desk. My other messy desk. It's got pockets that you can put your own information in, so you don't have to use the information printed on the GM screen you buy from the store. So I'm going to, when I run these campaigns, I'm going to create little cheat sheets and print everything on them. I just have to find a way to condense the 12-page campaign Bible into 4 panels. It's hard. I think I made the font really tiny, and I'm gonna regret it because I'm old. That old. I'm that old. Okay. Priestess of Rael, Renetha Ramcrown, red-haired dwarf, kind and matronly, though still a young woman. Rentha is taking over for the long-running priest of Rael, who just passed away. Good at her job, though people unfairly can still compare her to her predecessor. So, unlike Bide, where everyone kind of worships everything here, I think. Or rather, religions become isolated with the islands. So that's why it would not be uncommon to have a dwarf priestess of a human deity. It's because, well, on this island, we remember the rituals to Raoul, and they sustain and help us, so we're going to keep invoking them. And they still work even though Raoul's throne crashed, so it's unclear, sort of. Okay, so... Shrine Master Uli Maxon, a female tiefling, creepy, like one of those janitors, you know. Mysteriously showed up on the island 7 years ago, keeps mostly to herself, and keeps the shrines clean. So, on Bide, tieflings are considered cursed elves by elves. Nobody else knows where they came from. They just showed up one day. I would say the same is true on Jalen, but they probably aren't considered cursed elves, especially not anymore. Again, the elves only considered, like, on Bide. The gnomes and tieflings kind of cohabitate together because they're both essentially rejected by the elves, so they don't take it quite as pettily as the humans and halflings do. They're just like, whatever, we don't need you, you bunch of jerks. So they form the greatest city in on Taraka in that setting. So Uli Maxion, creepy janitor. Butcher is Steiner Stormbucket. Local gossip. If you need a good cut of beef or a rumor, you talk to Steiner. Trademark Stormbucket Meats. The general goods store. Is Kiefer Sloan. Human old lady bitterly running the store after her husband passed. Not nice. No haggling. The banker is Varter Shade. Halfling. Money is super important, you guys. Like, really, really important. Has he mentioned money? One of the few in town who isn't a fan of Sylvie, but would never openly say that, into mansplaining. The worst. That person is purposefully the worst. I don't know who I was mad at that day, but that's the worst. And then Ray Mercer. What don't we have? We have a captain and guard. We have a harbor master. We have a mayor. We have a main priestess and shrine master. We have a butcher. General goods store. Private eye. Human. Another former ruin diver. Ray Mercer is a sword for hire who handles more. I don't want to say domestic because that makes it sound like he handles like domestic disturbances, but he's not going adventuring anymore. He's handling kind of more local issues. Okay. And then, here somewhere. I want to do something with ghost towers. There are 2 ghost towers in Dungeons & Dragons lore. There's the ghost towers of the Witchlight Fens and the ghost towers of Inverness. The ghost towers of Inverness are like a classic dungeon from 1st edition AD&D? I can't remember. They're like a classic tournament dungeon. It's a big deal. They show up on the gold. It shows up on the Goldbergs, funnily enough, as like part of a competition. It's funny. And then Ghost Towers of Witchlight Fens show up in 4th edition. I think it's a way to run a game by yourself, if I remember correctly. I haven't read that one in a while, and I know of Inverness, but I've never read it. But I want to read them and kind of figure out what they say ghost towers are, and then have more ghost towers because it's cool. So I'm gonna say home to a ghost tower. The ghost tower of Wayward Vale. Main ruin on Wayward Vale. So, the other thing about the idea behind the Shattered Kingdoms is it allows you to tell a couple different kinds of stories. Purposefully by design. It allows you, there's always a dungeon somewhere nearby. There's a ruin to explore. If you want to, and it's a good source of money. Monsters come out of them, so towns hire people to protect them. Adventurers aren't looked down upon by the people of the Shattered Kingdoms. They are a necessity. They need people to go fight these goblins or lizard monsters, basilisks, behirs, remorazes. I wish I could have thought of a second bee or third bee lizard that live in these dungeons, these ruins, because who is it? I think it's Kazan the Iron Fist. No, it's Don Iver. Because Don Iver essentially curses these places to just spawn monsters. And there is a way to cleanse them, but no one has found it yet because it's complicated. So Don Iver has cursed these ruins. So let me see. Let me write this down so I don't forget it. Okay, so ruins scatter. Oh, I shouldn't use the word scatter again. Ruins dot the world. Remnants of a bygone age. A better time. Before the dark times. Before the Empire. Ruins dot the world. Remnants of a bygone age. A better time. They contain great treasures of the lost age and are home to monsters. They are places cursed by Don Iver to constantly spawn evil creatures who seek to destroy Grail's beloved children. Ruins of the world, remnants of a bygone age, a better time. They contain great treasures of the lost age and are home to monsters. Even if defeated, they return in time. Therefore, adventurers are a necessary fixture of small town life. Often ruins thought picked over again and again house new and wondrous treasures as if a gift from Grail or what's the name of the gem lord? Warren themselves. Ooh, I'm not familiar with the anime Magi, Liz. But this is sort of is that about like adventure, ruin divers, and deserts? I do like deserts. One of these has to be a desert island. Which one of these is a desert island? Desert island. Okay, let's see. Okay, bringing some remnants of a. Right the first time, Google. Okay. The sea is a way of life for the people of the Shattered Kingdoms. Oh, cool. Liz says it's a retelling of Aladdin. She thinks, but it has dungeons pop up and people go adventuring in them to claim treasures. That sounds neat. It's on Netflix. I will add that to my list. Thank you. The sea is a way of life for the people of the Shattered Kingdoms. Both feared and needed. The storm's limits travel, but without the other islands, and the bounties of the sea, the people would surely perish. Okay. You start your journey on Wayward Vale of the Gale Pact Islands. Within a day's travel of your home are half a dozen islands. Okay. Let's see. So the other one. So let's see. Amble Crown is rocky shores and cliffs. I'm very much picturing Ireland visually for it. Sylvan Harbor, I think, sort of has to be home to Fey creatures. Home to Fey creatures. Perhaps it's literally an extension of the Feywild. Wild on the prime material. Heavily wooded. Home to elves. I'm trying to. Lizard folk are good. Home to tieflings. They like the heat. Has anybody done tieflings as like a desert society? Because now I want to do that. I'm trying to. I don't. Their deal in 4E was that they were like an ancient empire that essentially all sold their souls to the devil, I think. And 5e, it's just that they have planar or demonic or devilish blood. In old editions, they were just like outsiders essentially. So they actually even look. Let me see if I can. I have a Planescape book here. Hold on. Faces a signal. Here we go. Kylie's a tiefling. Oh, that's not. It's not cool. I mean, it's great art because it's Tony. Oh, I never know how to pronounce his last name. Dilatrezzi? Dieterlitzy. I'm going to say that. Okay, you can only sort of see it. But if you Google 2nd edition tiefling, they have like cloven hooves and you can see their tails like all spiny and stuff. And good old classic ginormous 80s hair. But yeah, so in 2nd edition they weren't necessarily devilish. They were tied to... I had this in a way. What the hell was it? It should be after the Forgotten Realms books. Okay. Wait, where are you? You're Ravenloft. Okay. I'll put it with the Spelljammer books. That makes the most sense. Oh, no, wait. I probably had it with the Forgotten Realms books because I use it for Task Force Unlikely. Because of Shumeshka. Okay. What was my point? My point was about Desert Society tieflings. I think that's rad. That's not quite what this is because... Oh, maybe it could be, though. I don't know if I have any ideas other than I think tieflings living in a desert sound neat. That's all it is for now. But I like it. So it's a small desert. So let's see. Desert island. Let's say it's... 2,500 square miles. I think these are called landings. When the Feywild like just kind of forces itself onto the prime material. I think they're called landings. Let's see. Let's make this one small. Home to a herd of centaurs. Sylphies? Are those water nymphs? And a coven of witch sisters all mad at each other. The ruin is essentially the great Deku tree. I'm picturing a big ruined tree towards the middle of the island for Sylvan Harbor that has a dungeon in its roots. The ruin is the great tree of, let's just make up a name, Sauron. Not Sauron. The great Sauron. Has that ever been a bad guy name before? Probably not, right? Sauron? Not like a... Maybe he has like a ring. Or is a dinosaur man with vampire eyes. Weird move, Chris Claremont. Okay. The ruin is the great tree Sauron, or Siren. Let's do that. Siren. The dungeon extends through their roots. Yeah, so and kind of the idea behind this a little bit is, and it's something I've always kind of pictured this as, is you don't have to build the world all at once. That's the point of the Forever Storms. You just build it bit by bit, and then the Forever Storms fall. How or why the Forever Storms fall? Well, that's up to you, or me, the Dungeon Master. But yeah, so the way I originally envisioned this campaign, let me talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to fill this out. We're going to provide rough sketches for the rest of the islands. Maybe a little beginning adventure hook, and then I'm going to log off, I think. But so the way I pictured this adventure is you all are training to be ruin divers, or you're just drawn to adventuring, whatever, and you graduate from school, or the beginning of the thing is perhaps you all in school, you all training, whatever. You eventually become ruin divers. You're sent out on a mission. Eventually you have to go to one of the other islands, and you kind of build. You keep going to the other islands, level 1 through 5 or 6, and the world seems small. And then at the end of the last island, something happens where the Forever Storm falls, and everyone's mind is like blown. So then, because your actions, they believe, led to the falling of the Forever Storm, you're considered like the heroes of. You're the greatest heroes the Gale Pact Islands have ever seen. You're level 6. Like, no one's ever reached above level 5. We don't have anything that gets you enough experience points if you kill it. Kind of thing. So then you would go out and you would keep finding just weird islands. Islands that aren't like the ones you've been on. And you... Originally, I even thought... Nope. Too far. You just roll randomly. I wanted 100 so I could have a D100 list. You just roll randomly on this. You look at the name and you go, okay, what would that be? I mean, obviously, that's not necessarily the most helpful thing on the planet, but that was one of the ideas. But it's purposefully built to grow with the players and adapt to what they're interested in. So if they're interested in the ruin diving, then you create new and better and cooler dungeons for them. If they're interested in what happens like politically as these storm walls fall, where you go to other towns and you try and negotiate with them, and maybe they do need you. Look, we don't have adventurers. Our last ones died. When the storms fell, they sent out essentially hurricane force winds, and our heroes died protecting the town from the water weirds that came blowing in or something crazy. So the adventure continues to grow as you do, and then eventually you perhaps find a way to stop the monsters from coming. You turn off the ruins and save the world. Now, of course, that means you can't play in this campaign again. Or you then look at what it means for the world to totally be open and for there no longer to be monstrous threats that unite people. Then you have human problems. That would be the next campaign after this. Okay. Sorry if that was rambly. Anyway. Okay, so that's what the ruin is. Desert island home to tieflings. Stargle. Ruin is... Oh, thank you, Liz. Ruin is... massive catacombs underneath the sand. Nice and simple. No, I don't want to necessarily tie it to a pyramid, though I love pyramids. But yeah, it was, before this was a desert, it was some kind of, maybe it was Yeah, maybe it was like a city, like a big city, and these were the catacombs under the city. So it's full of undead, and relics from a lost city. From the lost city of Stargle. Okay, rocky shores and cliffs. Ruin is a giant, as in the creature, sailing ship. I have to make you big. So let's say 4,000 square miles, and perhaps a single giant family used to live here. To Goliaths, orcs, dwarves, and trollkin. To elves. You know what? Really tiny, 300 square feet. Heavily wooded. Home to elves. Just a little tiny wooded island. And the ruin is... I already did a big tree. Ruin is a desecrated temple. Can't spell. I'm a terrible speller. Desecrated temple to Poeth, Lord of the Summer. And finally, Portsmouth. Not square feet, square miles. Well, 300 square feet is really tiny. 300 square miles. Let's see. 1,600 square miles. And obviously, I would make these slightly less round numbers. But for estimation purposes, that's... Is there a Stonehenge ruin? There is now. Ruin is a Stonehenge structure. Its purpose unknown. I know how to spell unknown. Not that bad. Its purpose unknown, but it burrows deep into the earth. These stones are from an unknown island. They are a mysterious black obsidian. It's slightly different from our Stonehenge, but not totally. I'm picturing it as like a Stonehenge, but a crop circle. So like there's Stonehenge on the exterior. So Stonehenge surrounding like essentially a circular ruined staircase burrowing deep into the earth. Okay. So, to recap slightly, we've started the Shatter Kingdoms Bible, campaign Bible. It's the planet of Jalen. The moons are Chrysara and Olik. One of them is maybe a space station. Civilization ended 1,000 years ago. Or it was supposed to. Something has flooded the world. That's not your problem. The world survived. Sort of. There are 100 over. 100 islands scattered around the world. Specks of calm in a riotous sea. You live on one of them. Welcome to the Shattered Kingdoms. Ruins dot the world. Remnants of a bygone age. A better time. They contain great treasures of the Lost Age. And are home to monsters. This sentence sucks. I'll fix it. They contain great treasures of the Lost Age. Period. They are home to monsters. They are cursed. Here we go. I don't need... They contain great... okay. Ruins not the world, remnants of a bygone age. They contain great treasures of the Lost Age. This is choppy, but my usual problem is run-ons. They are cursed by Dawn Ivor to constantly spawn evil creatures who seek to destroy Rael's beloved children. And creations. Even if defeated, they return in time. Therefore, adventurers are a necessary fixture of small-town life. Often ruins, thought picked over again and again, house new and wondrous treasures, as if a gift from Rael or Roran themselves. The sea is a way of life for the people of the Shattered Kingdoms, both feared and needed. The storms limit travel, but without the other islands and the bounties of the sea, the people would surely perish. You start your journey on Wayward Vale of the Gale-Packed Islands. Within a day's travel of your home are half a dozen islands. Portsmouth, Sylvan Harbor, Stargle, Amber Crown, and the Evenwood. And the Evenwood. Okay. So on the Gale-Packed Islands are the Wayward Vale. The biggest of the Gale-Packed Islands is where players will start. Wayward Vale is the name of both the island and the city found there. More of a town. That will be true of most places. I do picture them as the whatever civilization is there, unless it's a particularly big island. It's the name of the city and the island. They're used interchangeably. Okay, we met some of the NPCs. Format those in a bit. And then the main ruin on Wayward Vale is a ghost tower. And what that is, I'll decide later. But I want the ghost towers to be a thing. So, ghost tower here, ghost tower there, ghost tower everywhere. They're all connected. Maybe they're the cause of this. Maybe they're the solution. Okay. Portsmouth, 1,600 square miles. The ruin is a Stonehenge structure. Its purpose unknown. It's a Stonehenge surrounding... Can't spell. A circular ruined staircase. Seemingly naturally occurring that burrows deep into the earth. The stones are from an unknown island. They are mysterious black obsidian. Portsmouth is a fishing village and shipbuilding. Now, fishing village. Wayward Vale builds the majority of ships for the Gale-Packed because they're the biggest and they have a lot of trees. Okay. Portsmouth is a fishing village. populated mainly by gnomes, halflings, and goblins. It's sort of a little small village. Okay. Sylvan Harbor, 750 square miles. Home to Fey creatures, a landing of the Feywild on the Primaterial. Home to a herd of centaurs, water nymphs, and a coven of witch sisters, all mad at each other. The ruin is the great tree Siren. The dungeon extends through their roots. Stargle, 2,500 square meters. It's a desert island, and I mean that, yeah, it's a desert. Not like a deserted island. I feel like sometimes those are conflated. Like, Gilligan's Island is we're on this desert island. It's not really a desert. It's like a lagoon. Home to tieflings. Ruin is a massive catacombs underneath the sand, full of undead and relics from the lost city of Stargle. So yeah, I'm picturing it as like something happened when the city hit, when the world flooded. Somehow this area got covered in sand and essentially buried the city. Became like a desert. They built a new city or a small town on top of it. But if you go into the ruins, you can find essentially the old city just underneath all the sand in the ground. So it's all the undead were the former inhabitants of the city. Amblecrown, 4,000 square miles, really big, rocky shores and cliffs, home to Goliaths, orcs, dwarves, and trollkin, sort of the traditional mountain folk of Dungeons and Dragons. The ruin is a giant, as in the creature, sailing ship. And yeah, I'm picturing that like the Titanic. Like, it's a massive dungeon still. Like, it's a multi-layered, like, cruiser. Yeah, something like a tsunami or something buried it. I'm trying to think what would bury it in sand. A sand tsunami, a sand-nami. That's not good. But like, crazy stuff happened when the throne hit. So yeah, maybe a giant wave essentially knocked the city down, and kind of as it receded again, the tide pulled a bunch of the ocean floor and sand over the city, and then, it never came back, kind of thing. Yeah, so a tsunami hit it, wiped it away, and I like that. Thank you again, Liz. You're so helpful in chat. And then finally, let me write that down. Tsunami caused by the throne impact wiped out the island, and receding waves pulled mountains, sand from the ocean on top of the lost city. Okay. Although if the giant ship was called the Titanic, the Titan-ic, some kind of Titan pun. I'd have to have some kind of Titan pun. Titan ice, I don't know. Stuck in an iceberg. And then finally, the Evenwood, 300 square miles, heavily wooded, home to elves. Ruin is a desecrated temple to Poeth, Lord of the Summer. Okay. We've been working for an hour and a half, so yeah, I'm about to wrap this up. So that would be the very beginning of the Shattered Kingdoms campaign Bible. If people enjoy this, I will continue to do world building streams on stream There's a lot to add to the Shattered Kingdoms. For the campaign Bible, I think I would keep it to the Wayward Vale, or to the Galepact Islands at first, and then I would create a separate Dungeon Master document where I kind of outline, here's what I think some of the other cities and islands would be. I may not even ascribe them names yet. I might create like templates for islands and be like, okay, my players really liked when that happened. Let me scroll through. Okay, I can make this island nearby. It'll be called, so-and-so. This name fits sort of the ideas of it. So you kind of mash up the concept with the name, and you position, because you don't have to draw the full map. Nobody knows what it looks like. Like that's what's good about this kind of thing. So, like I said, I can keep building this. I can go through Bide a little bit more. I have to copy and paste the gods onto here. I have Boot Underhill to build. I can go through Suburbia. I still have those 2 towns to build. I can do lots more world building streams if people are into it. Otherwise, I can create characters for Andy Makes a Friend, whatever y'all like. I had a great time tonight, though, and it's always, I talk to myself anyway when I'm doing this stuff half the time. So it's nice to be able to talk out loud and not seem like a total crazy person, because technically I'm talking to an audience. Thank you, Liz. So yeah, my stuff from the beginning is true again. Join us on Wednesday for Sassy and Classy, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, for Task Force Unlikely, and next week, Phantom Horizons is back. It's going to be great. Lots of awesome stuff here at the Laughing Dragon Inn. Having a bunch of fun as always, and I hope you will continue to join us in the new year. Or if you're new and would like to just find out more about us, youtube.com/godofroads has playlists of all of our stuff. Our D&D shows are, I guarantee you'll have a fun time. Our other shows are great. If you like science fiction, check out Stars Without Number. If you are interested in Call of Cthulhu or the Old West, check out Twilight Trails. Yeah, lots of great people on this stream. They're all wonderful and talented and great. Have a great night, everybody. How I do this.